Hello everybody, good afternoon or good evening or good morning depending on where you are, at what time you're watching. If it's a replay, you can do a hashtag replay so that I can answer your comments in the future. So tonight I am interviewing Cassandra Farren, who is a writer. Let me just see if I made this public because I'm not sure. Yeah, nobody is joining. See, it doesn't really look good, but I think people should start joining. Right, so okay, so we have our first viewer. That's brilliant. My camera keeps fixating again. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. I think I found a cure for that, but I'm not sure how to use it yet. So you will have to wait until the next time. It just basically, keeps fixating when I move my hands. That's what I've noticed. So anyway, tonight I am interviewing Cassandra Farren. She's a writer right now. She's already written 3 life-changing books, but her journey through her careers and life and the huddles that she faced through life will not tell you that she was meant to do it from the beginning, basically. So we're just waiting for Cassandra to join us. We just tested it and it went really, really well with this test. So I just want to make sure that she's invited over there. Cassandra. There we go. One more time. Okay, hi guys, you're joining. Brilliant, brilliant. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be very interesting. The reason why we're doing this today is because there was just so many ups and downs in her journey, and she's finally making it to the top. And it's just lovely, lovely, lovely to see inspiring women like that. Cassandra, if you're watching, you should be able to join like we tested. I don't know who's watching because it's not showing. Oh, there you are. There you are. Right? And now I think you can accept my invitation. Oh. Hey.
Hello.
Yes, we made it. Woohoo! Victory!
Hello.
I love it. Great to see you. Great to see you. Fantastic. I mean, we've just spoken, so so without further ado, maybe we can just jump into your journey. First of all, thank you so much for being here with me. I know you wanted to bail because of some voice issues, but you managed to recover somehow. I have no idea how you did it, what you did over there, but I am so grateful for being able to do this at our usual time of the interviews. And thank you as well for taking your time, the time to do this from your schedule, which I hear is really busy right now.
Yeah, it's great to be here. So good evening to everyone.
Good evening. Okay, awesome. So Cassandra, this is going to be a journey through your careers, and I want to ask you first, this is what I always ask, what was your first job? What did you start doing?
Okay, so my first ever job was in a building society. So I was doing a range of tasks, from sitting behind the cash desk, opening up accounts. I trained how to become a mortgage advisor. I was doing personal loans. So I was only 18 years old, and I'd never dreamed of working in a building society. I actually had applied to go to university, but then I realized that my last year would have overlapped. Sorry, my first year would have overlapped with my sister's last year. And I just thought financially, that's quite a lot for my parents. And I was going to study human resource management, which now just seems crazy to think that I could have gone down a completely different career path, but that's what I got my place at university for, human resource management. And I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to defer my place for 1 year, and then if I still want to go to university, I've got the place, but if not, why not just start working for a company, get some training and see what happens.
So why did you want to choose human resources? Was it like, were you feeling some kind of calling, or was everybody just doing that?
So prior to that, I'd gone to college and I'd done an advanced GMBQ in business studies. And that consisted of lots of different modules. So human resource management was one of the modules, and I'd got a high grade in it. And I did enjoy the human side of business rather than accounting, like business plans and boring things like that.
Right. Okay. So it was, so you felt the human connection. I can see how that refers now to what you do now. By the way, I didn't mention this. So Cassandra has written 3 books so far. So far, they get very good reviews, like 5-star reviews on Amazon, and are life changing. But what she also does, she calls herself a soul writer, which is a better version of a ghostwriter, and I would like you to explain to our viewers what a ghostwriter does.
Yes, so a ghostwriter, a ghostwriter is somebody who writes a story on behalf of a client, but they write their story in their voice. The reason that I call myself a soul writer as opposed to a ghostwriter is because my clients actually name me as a co-author on the book, so I'm not actually hidden. I'm not like a real ghost. I'm actually named as a co-author on the book. But also I've chosen soul writer because I use energy techniques. As well as being an author, I'm also a Reiki master. So I actually use energy techniques to connect to my client's energy so that I can almost step into their energy and their emotions, so that it's a really powerful connection of sharing their story in their voice.
Right. That is amazing, and I hear people are really excited to do this work with you. Maybe one day I will do it too. I don't know. We'll see where life leads me. So you never knew when you were doing your studies. Did you go to study human resources in the end? Writing
No.
was not a plan, right?
No, never in a million years did I think that I would be a writer. I left the building society because I moved to a new town and I couldn't get a transfer. So I just put my CV out to different job agencies, and I got accepted to work as a payment processor for quite a large company in the area. And again, I thought, well, I'll just start at the bottom, see what opportunities present themselves, and I was just open to opportunities. So I started literally processing payments. So people paid by check back then. I'm showing my age, but I was processing these payments, and then I'd have to allocate the customer's payment to the invoices that they owed. And then I got a promotion to a credit controller. So then I used to phone people and chase their money, and I had quite large targets for that, and I did quite enjoy that. And then I had another promotion when I became a assistant buyer, and I used to analyze spreadsheets all day, every day, like massive spreadsheets, 15, 20,000 lines.
Wow. So much human resources work, so much
Honestly,
work related.
yeah. So I was analyzing prices and price changes, completely different path to what I was on. But whilst I was in that job, I then had my first son, and life then did not go to plan when 6 months after having my son, I became a single parent very suddenly and very unexpectedly. So I'd only just gone back to work. I'd been working literally a few weeks back as a part-time assistant buyer, and that was going to be my plan, to work part-time around my son. But when my situation changed very suddenly, I had a choice of whether to carry on working and try and keep my house, or did I speak to the council and say, you know, I can't keep my house, please can you relocate me in England? That, you know, that is an option, there's support for single parents. But for me, I didn't even think of plan B. Plan A was, we are going to keep our house. that was the decision. So that evening I made a phone call to my mum, had to tell her the unfortunate news that I'd become a single parent. And then she said, is there anything I can do to help you? And I said, yes, please, can you look after my son on the days that he doesn't go to nursery? That will enable me to work full-time, have a full-time salary, buy Kieran's dad out of the house, and it means that we can keep our house. Because I knew that his nursery didn't have any full-time places for another 6 months. So I had to find that other support so that we could keep our house.
Right. You made that decision pretty quickly, right? So you just called your mother with the news that you were a single mother now, and you already had a decision made that you're keeping the house, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. So what happened next?
What happened next is then the girl that I was sitting next to in my job said to me, if you need any financial advice, my cousin is a mortgage advisor. He's very like trustworthy, and go and speak to him if you need any advice. And I said, I do. I need to increase my mortgage so that I can buy my ex-partner out of the property. So I then find myself sitting in this mortgage interview, feeling quite low and quite scared actually, because I didn't know if my full-time salary was going to enable me to give the money to my ex-partner and be enough so that I could borrow the amount of money that I needed. So I was aware that I was being asked these questions, but I wasn't really paying much attention because I was secretly just praying in my head, like, please let this go through, please let this go through, because I didn't have plan B. I didn't know what plan B was. So I was just feeling like a bit of a robot, just given these answers. Where did you used to work? How long did you used to work there for? Etc., etc. And to my surprise, at the end of the mortgage interview, the person that was interviewing me told me, firstly, that my mortgage had been agreed in principle. So that was a huge relief. And then he said, and I'm aware that you've got a lot going on at the moment in your life, but I'd like to offer you a job.
That is incredible.
And then my face probably dropped open, like a job? You know, I've come in for a mortgage. And he said, well, you know, you've just told me that you used to work in a building society and that you used to work with mortgages. And I can tell from the kind of person that you are that you would be amazing working in this role. And if you'd like to come and work for the company that I work for, we will train you, we will enable you to have your full CMAP qualifications. And then you'll have your own branch and you will have these amazing opportunities. Go away, have a think about it, and let me know. And again, I didn't need any time to think. I just said, I'll accept it. And he said, are you sure? And I said, yes. I said, this will give me a purpose, and this will give me something to focus on, and this will give me something to look forward to in my future. And I knew that as a single parent, I wasn't going to be going out partying every night. I was going to have a lot of time on my own at home. So why not be studying for these qualifications and creating a better future for me and my son?
Right. That's brilliant. So you made a decision. You're a quick decision maker. I can see that definitely. Hey, Martin. Which is fantastic, and you were already seeing the positive in everything as well, and I think that speaks a lot about you too and your further journey as well. So you decided to take on the opportunity. I want everybody to make a mark on this, and remember, things happen to us, opportunities come. When your mind is open, opportunities will come to you, okay, if you just stay positive. Right, so then, and you held on to that job for like a gazillion years, as far as I remember, I think.
It was only 1 year. So for that year, I was then working full time, studying for my qualifications. And for the next 6 months, I was driving 30 miles, so a 60-mile round trip to my parents' house. So they didn't live in the same town as me. So it was challenging. It was a challenging time, but I just kept that focus on this is going to create a better future for me and my son. So I passed all of my exams first time, really proud of myself. But unfortunately, the company that I was working for went into financial difficulty, and cut a very long story short, I wasn't getting paid on time. So as a single parent with an increased mortgage, paying full-time nursery fees, not getting paid on time was challenging, to say the least. So I had another decision to make of, do I stay or do I go? And I decided that I couldn't risk having a mortgage arrear, because if I got into mortgage arrears, I would never get a job as a qualified mortgage advisor anyway. So I handed in my notice to leave, and I was told to leave the branch immediately, because that I could have possibly, in their eyes, I could have taken their customers. I wouldn't have done that, but they said you need to leave immediately. So I'd handed in my notice and thought that I was going to have a month to find another job. I was told to collect my certificates and leave immediately. So that was a shock. That was a shock. So I thought, okay, well, I will now apply to all of the banks and building societies in my town and try and get a job as a mortgage advisor. So thankfully, I was offered a job at High Street Bank quite soon after, but it actually took me 6 months before I walked into their doors in my uniform to start my job, because of lots of vigorous checks. They couldn't decide which branch I was going to work in. So it took me 6 months. So for that 6 months, I had to go and be a temp or a temporary worker, which is when you're just working for an agency. So within that time, I was doing cold calling for most of that time, which is not an ideal job for most people. Most people hate cold callers. But
yeah.
I had to pay my bills. I had to pay my son's nursery fees. So it wasn't a time to be picky. And I knew that I had this job to go to. I didn't realize it was going to take 6 months. I thought, well, I can do this for a month. But then that 1 month went on to another one, another one, another one. So again, that was a very challenging time, because you only knew that you were going to be working for a company for a week. And then at the end of the week, you would get told whether you're going to be kept on or given or told not to come back. So I only knew that I had 1 week's worth of wages, and then if I got kept on, then I'd have another week's worth of wages. But when I worked for this cold calling company, I worked extremely hard, and whatever team I was put on, I just gave it my all with loads of enthusiasm and energy, and they ended up asking me to train the new people. So that way I knew that I was going to be asked to be kept on the following week, because they needed me to train the new people. Yeah, so I lasted for 6 months doing that, and then finally I got my new job at the bank, and I was so proud and thought, this is what I've been waiting for. Then I thought that I was going to have a really long career in the bank, and that I would have like lots of training, and that I'd just work my way up the ladder, and that would be me retired working for a bank. That was the plan.
And what happened then? So I think over there you stayed for a long time, as far as I remember. Maybe I'm confusing your career. There were so many just shifts over there.
Yeah. What I realized quite quickly is that even though they paid me on time, which was like a bonus, that was great. I did get paid. But what I realized that's a good bonus, and you can pay your bills. So that was good. However, money isn't everything. And what I realized is that my personal values and beliefs did not match with the company's values and beliefs. And where I had been employed as a mortgage advisor, I was expected to sell up to 10 products in one mortgage interview. And I was also expected to cover 5 to 6 different branches. So I was continually at different branches with different managers, with different sales targets. And it got to the point where I was getting a phone call every hour, on the hour, asking me, what have I sold? What am I selling next? How much commission have you made? Etc., etc. And it was all about the sales. Now, this was 10 or so years ago, and I'm aware that things have changed a lot since then, but that was my reality in that moment.
Depends on the company.
It
Many
wasn't,
companies still function that way. Many
they're
of them.
trying, yeah. So for me, I just increasingly became more and more stressed and less fulfilled in both my personal life and in my career. And I found myself questioning, like, is this the right path? Is this the right decision? And then I was like, well, I would feel like a complete idiot to give this up now, because I've just worked really, really hard as a single parent, working full time, working for my qualifications, then waiting 6 months to come and join this company. Like, what would I even do? What would I do if I left? I don't know what I would do. But at the same time, when it got really bad after about a year, I was waking up in the middle of the night and crying, because I was so stressed by thinking about solicitors' deadlines and mortgages and my manager, what was she going to say? And it got to the point where I was waking up in tears. I was driving to work crying. I was happy if a customer cancelled on me. I was like, yes. And it was just one of the worst points in my life when I just did not know what to do. I had a decision to make of, do I choose my career or do I choose my mental health?
Right. So this is very important. That's a very important point. And I know many of you who are watching, yes, I am in Poland right now, maybe at this point right now or in the future. So, and I've been there too. Well, not this drastically, but really, I just quit my job because I knew I couldn't put my heart into it anymore, and the stress actually got me into depression. So it's very important to see what's going on with your body before you go really low down, and you are good at making decisions.
Yes, but I still felt like a fool, even considering leaving. I thought, well, what's everyone going to think of me? What's everyone going to say? That was playing on my mind. But by this point, I had started a new relationship, and I was aware that even when I was with my new partner, I just wasn't in the present moment, and I was just thinking about work all the time. And I just thought, you know, you've found happiness again, which is amazing, but you're just so stressed out with work that you're not even like fully present in your relationship. And I thought, you know, this could screw this up, and I didn't want to do that. You know, I was genuinely really happy. So that did play a part in, you know, like, my son was only 2 and I wanted to be a better mother to him. I wanted to be there for him, and I wanted to enjoy the little moments of being with him.
So what did you decide?
Well, it got to the point, I think I'd had quite a heated discussion with my manager, and it hadn't started heated. I'd been honest and said that I'd asked for some support, and she said to me, well, if you can't cope with this, then there's nothing else in the bank for you.
Right.
And I thought that I would have had some transferable skills that could have gone elsewhere, but that was her analysis. And she said, well, that's it. If you can't do this, then you won't be able to cope with anything else.
Right. And well, maybe it was meant to be that way.
Exactly. So that's when I knew, and that's when I bought a job paper, looked through the jobs, and it was the part-time jobs that I was drawn to, because I'd spoken to one of my friends, and she said to me, well, why are you working full-time? And I said, well, to buy my ex-partner out the house, I needed a full-time income to pay for everything. And she said, but if you work part-time, then the nursery fees will decrease. You know, if you can still afford your mortgage, that could be an option. Right. So that opened my eyes to the jobs that I could do. So I was like, okay, so let's have a look in the job paper for part-time jobs. So I literally opened the job paper with a completely fresh pair of eyes, just thinking, what could I do that's stress-free? What could I do that could allow me just to be there for my son? So I think I circled 3 jobs. One was working in a a restaurant, one was working in a nursery.
That's what I did.
And the other one was working as a cleaner at a hotel.
Right.
And the one that I ended up phoning and getting a job interview for was the cleaner.
Right. And I remember I love this part of the story, that when you were thinking, I'm not good enough to get this job, this cleaning job, like it's a big hotel, fancy hotel, and your level of self-esteem after that previous job and the level of stress got you to thinking you couldn't get a cleaning job, which is, it does require skill, because oh my god, I cannot make the bed like they make them at the hotel. I have no idea how they do it. But it is something that can be taught on the spot, right? And you were in a very low place right there.
Yeah, so when I applied for the interview, I was quite confident, and I was thinking, well, this would be amazing. This would release all the stress and I could work part-time. Wouldn't this be great? So I was quite positive. But it wasn't until I drove into the hotel car park and looked at this grand hotel, it was then that I remember the exact thought that I had, which was, somebody like me should not be working somewhere like this.
Mm-hmm.
I did not, in that moment, I did not think that I was good enough to be their cleaner. And I think what had happened is that my self-esteem and confidence had been crushed a lot by my manager's negativity, that those self-doubts were playing in my mind. And I thought, what are you doing? You know, you've come for a cleaning interview and you've never cleaned anything in your life other than your house. And there's going to be these professional cleaners that have cleaned for years and they know what they're doing and they know all the cleaning products, and you don't know anything. And I thought, God, should I just go home? Like, I just thought, is it too late? Is it too late just to go home? And then I just thought, well,
you made a good decision again.
Yeah, so again, I made the decision I just thought, oh, just go in, give it your best and see what happens. So in I go, sit down in the interview, and the HR manager sits there and like, she looks at me and she's got my CV and she looks at the CV and she just put it down and she said, why are you here? And I asked a question which you're not meant to ask in interviews. I said to her, do you have children? And she said, yes. And I said, let me explain. I said, I just want to be a good mum. I said, I'm aware that my past jobs and my qualifications would perhaps indicate that I wouldn't be applying for a cleaning job. I said, but they can wait. If I ever want to go back to that, then I can. But I'm a quick learner. I work well as part of a team, and I was really trying to sell myself that I really wanted this opportunity. I was like, give me a chance. And I genuinely really wanted that opportunity. The more that I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I could do this. I could clean. And I got the job. Go me. I got it.
Yay!
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's incredible. And then you stayed there for like what, 5 years, I think. I remember.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that was quite a different experience, having gone into work wearing my suit and my heels and, you know, an office environment, to then wearing jogging bottoms, a t-shirt and trainers, hair in a ponytail, scrubbing showers, and it was a whole different work environment, but I absolutely loved it. I swear that I was probably the happiest cleaner in my town. I honestly, I would just be so happy to go to work, and I would be so happy to do my job, and I was so happy to go home with no stress on my shoulders. It was incredible. So you're right, I worked for 5 years. Yeah. Exactly.
That is so brilliant, because you saw what you could have lost and what you lost due to stress at work, and that allowed you basically to appreciate what you had then. Yeah. And when I quit my job and I got a job at the restaurant, I also appreciated a great deal out of it, the lack of stress, etc. But when we fall from a higher perspective, then we can appreciate things. And it's like you were just telling me before the interview, you appreciate the fact that you have a voice now, because Cassandra lost her voice a couple days ago, and she was just telling me how much she appreciates the fact that she has a voice and can talk again. It's so beautiful. But we don't appreciate the things until something happens, until there's this switch in our head allows us to really, really, really deeply, on a very deep level, appreciate. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
How did that job end? Why did it end? What happened that you quit your stress-free job?
I was made redundant after 5 years, and I was quite upset by that. And some people didn't understand that I felt upset because I was a cleaner. So it wasn't like I'd been made redundant from some high profile job, but that was my job, and that was my job that fitted around my family. So within that 5 years, I'd then gone on to get engaged, I'd got married, and I'd had my second son, who was then at nursery. So I had one son at school, one son at nursery. My part-time hours fitted perfectly around my children, and I really enjoyed the interaction that I had with the other members of staff and the other people that I met through my work. But unfortunately, they restructured the organisation and my hours didn't fit into their role. So that's what brought that to an end. After 5 years, I was made redundant.
So what decision did you make then?
Well, the personal trainer that worked at the gym had shown me these products that he was selling to his clients. It was an aloe vera based product. And one day he said to me, "Oh, you love all this kind of stuff. You should have a look at this opportunity." And I was like, what products? What opportunity? And he said, "Well, you can have your own business, but under this umbrella of this health and nutrition company, and you can work flexibly around your children." And I was like, whoa, that sounds good. Didn't know anything about the company. I didn't know anything about the products, but working flexibly around my children, he had my attention. So I went along to like an information evening and decided that's what I was going to do. I still didn't know much, but they ran training. They ran training on the products, and they said, if you want to develop and grow a team, then you can. You work at a pace around, you set the pace, you set the targets. Right. And I just thought, this sounds really interesting. And I thought, well, I've got 2 months worth of money before my money was going to stop. So I thought, well, what's the worst that can happen? Let's just try a new avenue. Let's go for it.
Right. So you had an adventure with network marketing. Are you still doing that? Because that's a kind of a residual income thing. No.
No, okay. No. Yeah. So I then I really embraced that opportunity, and I loved the training. I loved the personal development. I did start to grow a team, and that was when I was starting to ask to speak at events. So I'd never spoken in front of anybody other than customers. But right. People were asking me just to share my story of how I'd gone from a mortgage advisor to a cleaner to working in network marketing. So I was asked to speak at our local meeting that had about 30 people. Then I was asked to speak at a regional meeting that had about 200 people. And then I was asked to speak at the national training day that had 1,000 people.
Right.
So every single time they talk about stepping out of your comfort zone, I was bungee jumping out of my comfort zone.
Yes, you were.
I just thought, embrace these opportunities. Like, they believe in you. Go for it. Just tell your story, and if you can inspire someone along the way, then amazing. So that's when I realized that I really enjoyed that speaking element as well, something that I'd never had the opportunity to do. So everything from the outside looking in was amazing. Like, people were constantly saying to me, wow, you should be so proud of yourself. You've turned your life around. This is incredible. But unfortunately, in my personal life, that's when I found out that history had repeated itself. And I had a very difficult decision to then make, but I did make the decision, and I ended my marriage.
Right.
So that was a very difficult part of my life, because the house that I had fought so hard to keep then had to be sold.
It was the same house still. The one that you
Yeah.
had from the previous
Yeah.
relationship,
Well,
right?
by
Okay.
this point, I'd been there for 12 years, and unfortunately, because I was self-employed, it wasn't an option to buy my ex-husband out of the house. So the house had to be sold, and
Right.
it was very hard knowing that I was going back to be a single parent, but with this time 2 children to 2 different dads. We were going to lose our house. I didn't know if I had the strength to carry on in my business. And it was very scary that I thought I might lose myself again, because the first time that I had ended my relationship, I had lost a lot of confidence in
Right.
myself. And I was scared of going back to being that girl again that was feeling lost and alone and afraid.
Right. Right. So what was the next thing waiting for you? Did you continue network marketing? Did you do
Yeah,
something
so
else?
I managed to carry on for 6 months, and I went on a really good mindset training day where they spoke a lot about visualization and meditation. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of that day, I decided that I was going to work with this coach on a one-to-one basis. And I said to him, like, no pressure, but this is make or break. Like, it's either going to propel me up or I'm not going to find the strength, but I really want to make this work if I can. So
Right.
that was an integral part of my journey, by investing in myself and aiming for something in the future and having that to look forward to. So that training was amazing. But after 6 months, I just lost my motivation for network marketing, and there isn't really an explanation for that. And I don't know if the listeners can identify with just having a gut feeling that something isn't right anymore, and it's a knowing.
Right. Maybe you've outgrown it. Maybe you decided you needed something more. Is that when writing came to your mind, like sharing your story in a different way?
No, nearly. So at that point, I was having a bit of a crisis, because I thought, well, what am I going to do now? I've tried working
Right.
full time. I've tried working part time. I've tried network marketing. I'm running out of options, and I just didn't know what to do. I'd always worked. So since my son was 6 months old, I've always worked. I thrive on working. I love it. So I thought, I don't know what to do. So my friend said, well, I know this lady who's an intuitive coach, and she's amazing. She can help you if you're at a crossroads. She can help you to find a way forward. And I thought, well, I'm kind of desperate, to be fair. Like, I don't know what else to do. So I phoned this lady, never met her before, had this coaching call, told her my story, and she said to me, well, it's no wonder that it's never worked out working for somebody else. It's time to do this on your own now. And I was on the phone to her, and there was this long silence of me thinking, has she got me muddled up with somebody else? Because it sounds like she's suggesting to set a business up, but what would I, that's not me. Surely that's not me, because what would I even have a business in? And
Right.
I said to her, I'm not sure what you mean. And she said, what I want you to do is go away and write down everything that's happened in your life so far, and everything will become apparent.
Right.
At
I
that
get
point,
goosebumps when you talk about this.
at that point, I still thought she was crazy, and I still thought, I've paid you good money, and now you're telling me to write down my journey. Like, how on earth is that going to help? How's that going to help? Writing it down, like, it's bad enough in my head. Why would I want to write it down? However, I'm a good girl like that. If I've paid somebody, then I'll do my homework. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, speak to you in a week. I'll go and do my homework. So that night I sat down, opened a Word document, and I started writing and cried my eyes out. And
to all my students, do your homework. Always do your homework. Listen to this story. Always do your homework, okay? This is your coach speaking.
it's life changing. So I took her advice, wrote it down, but I cried and I thought again, like, how is this helping anything? It's just making me really sad. But what it made me see was how far I'd come on my journey. And it also made me realize that the first time my life had collapsed, I had been quite a mess, to be fair, and I'd spiraled down into this dark place. Whereas the second time, I lost so much more, yet my head had been in a much better place. So why was that? And I identified that the missing piece was the meditation that I had been doing, working with that coach, and the visualization, positive intention. So there was this glimmer of hope, just thinking, well, maybe, just maybe, I could help other people like that coach helped me. Maybe I could make these bespoke meditations and help women with confidence from the inside out, because that is what I'd needed my help with. I'd needed to rebuild my confidence, but from the inside out. That's the way that I saw it. So it literally started as an idea. And I went back to the coach that had introduced me to network marketing, sorry, the personal trainer that had introduced me to network marketing. And I said, if I was to make these meditations, do you think that your clients would test them out for me and just see if they work? Because I feel like it could really benefit them in between your sessions to keep motivated and to make better choices, to see themselves in a more confident light. He was like, yeah, go for it. So I started to make these bespoke meditations, and the feedback that I got was incredible, like life-changing, incredible. They couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. The personal trainer couldn't believe it. And I was like, okay, time to take yourself seriously. Let's start a business. Let's just go for it. So I literally set up my Facebook page 6 years ago, one Thursday evening. I wasn't ready. My website wasn't ready. Nothing was ready. But I thought, if I don't do it tonight, I'm not going to do it. I was starting to have fears and doubts. So I was just like, tonight's the night. So I created a Facebook page, made it go live. And then I woke up the next morning and I'd had over 100 likes. I'd been asked to write an article for a magazine. I'd been asked to speak at an event, and I had an inquiry from a client asking me for a consultation that morning. And by that afternoon, the money was in my bank account for my first ever sale.
Wow, that is big. That is incredible. So I haven't seen your meditations, but they must have been really, really good and helping a lot of people out. Right. Yeah. We will need to wrap up slowly here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's fine.
Let's go to the writing. Let's go to the writing. What got you to writing in the end?
So this is why I had to write books about my story, because it is so long. So much has happened. But I started going to networking events, and people were asking me, why did you set your business up? So I would give them an overview of my story, and that everyone kept saying to me, you should write a book, you should write a book, you should write a book, everybody. And I was like, well, I am kind of writing down this journal homework thing. You know, I wasn't really taking it seriously, but I just carried on writing where that coach had encouraged me to write. I just kept on writing. And I realized that if I did carry on writing, then there was a better chance that I would get invited to speak at events, because I'd be an author as well as a business owner and a speaker. So that was my motivation to write my first book. And at the same time as that I started my business, I'd also started a new relationship. So things were kind of back on track. I published my first book 2 years after setting up my business. So that was my first book, which is called The Girl Who Refused to Quit. So that shares the true story of my life. Unfortunately, 1 year after publishing that, my life collapsed again, and the new relationship that I'd started ended very suddenly. Me and my children ended up needing to move house very quickly. Again, we had nowhere to go, and it was a very challenging time, to say the least. But I was coping surprisingly well, but people around me were concerned about me because I was coping, in their eyes, a bit too well. So I decided to go and see a counsellor because I thought, well, I think I'm coping okay. You think I'm having a breakdown. Let's just find out what's going on here.
Right.
So I went to see a counsellor, poured out everything, and basically the counsellor told me not to come back and said, whatever you've done, keep on doing it, because this should have taken you 2 years to reach a point of acceptance, but you've done it yourself in less than 6 weeks. What have you done?
Right.
So this is what inspired me to write my second book, because I thought, well, without realizing it, I've created my own toolbox of mindset tools and practical exercises that I've just been doing just because I made the decision not to quit. I will not give up. I will not allow these circumstances to define who I am and what my future is going to hold. So I had just made a commitment to myself that I was going to do whatever it took not to crumble. So it wasn't massive steps, it was just little exercises that I was doing on a daily basis. So that's when I knew that I needed to share this with other people who have perhaps found themselves in a similar situation where their life has changed, either in their career, in their business, in their relationships, and they need to get their head back on track and they need to get their life back on track. So this is what inspired me to write my second book, which is called Rule Your World. So it's how to get your head back on track.
We'll post a link to Amazon where you can buy these books. Cassandra will post a link under the video with the link to Amazon where you can buy the books.
Thank you. So that was published 2 years ago. I was then asked to run a webinar on how to write a book in a Facebook group, and my initial thought was, oh, I'm not sure if I can speak for an hour on how to write a book. You know, yes, I have written 2, but have I got enough content for an hour? As normal, like, yes, that's fine, I'd love to, and then I'll find a way. So I ran this webinar. I just went for it and thought, you know, let's just share everything that I've learned along the way and, you know, what my advice would be. At the end of that webinar, I received an influx of positive messages and comments just saying, that was so inspiring. You've gone from being a mortgage advisor to a cleaner to the author of 2 books. You've inspired me to write books. Do you offer mentoring? No, but give me a couple of days and yes, we can arrange a program. So I then created an author mentoring program of people that wanted to share their stories. I realized that I had actually created a process of how I'd written my book without knowing. I had created this process and steps to follow. So I then launched my author mentoring program and thought, well, if I'm going to mentor authors, I might as well write the book about it as well. So that is what inspired me to write my third book, which is called Share Your World, How to Write a Life-Changing Book in 60 Days. That was published in November. And
congratulations. So right now you're a solo writer, you're a mentor for writers. You'll probably write some other book of yours when time comes, because I can see what I can see through your and I want everybody to also notice that through your whole career, you're very brave, because you always made the decisions, you made them quickly without overthinking. That's what a lot of us do. So a lot of us overthink, and that causes us not to make decisions. Cassandra, yes, she was in a lot of pain, which makes decisions, you know, quicker, obviously, naturally. But still, some of them were not that painful, and you were able to make them. So there's a lot of courage over there, and then also the consistency with the exercises and the meditation and everything else. That's also what I teach. You always need to be consistent with your exercises, mental exercises, on the bad days and on the good days to maintain your level of greatness, basically. So tell me, what's in the pipeline for 2019? What's exciting about the rest of the year?
So I've now written my 4th book, which I'm going to be publishing in May. So that has been a very challenging book to write. It's called I've Lost My Mum, and it is sharing the real life experience that I've been through with my mum having dementia. So that's written, it's going to be published in May. and I'm really passionate about just sharing my message with what I've learned in the journey that I've been on. I'm currently mentoring authors, writing 3 books as a sole writer. So I just want to carry on making a difference and helping people to understand that their past does not define their future. You have always got a choice. No matter where you're at, you have got a choice. And it doesn't have to be, you know, these big life-changing decisions. It can just be in the moment to appreciate what you've got, and anything that can help to make you feel more positive, make you feel more uplifted, look after yourself, look after your emotional well-being, and never give up.
Right, that's brilliant. I'd love to end here, because that's like the message that was flowing through your whole life. You're a rock, basically. You're a rock. I wish you all the best. Well, we will stay in touch naturally. Please, Cassandra, post the link under the video to your books, so people can go on Amazon and get them. And I wish you that you always have that smile and that positive attitude, and achieve amazing things, and help a lot of people, because that's one of the most important things in what you're doing.
Thank you, and thank you for having me this evening. It's been lovely to speak to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Rachel, as well. Bye. See you next time. See you on Monday on my show. I don't know what the topic is going to be on Monday, though, guys. I'll let you know later. No planning. Bye.